Hello, everybody. It's Scott Bunce, and I'm here today with Dacia Coffey, and we are going to talk all things marketing, AI, persona. I am really excited because Dacia came to two of my groups and gave two out of the park presentations. And with that, Dacia, welcome.
Thank you, Scott. I'm so excited. I mean, you and I had kismet, like, and so many aligned philosophies and values when we connected that when you brought this up, I was like, let's go. This is going to be so fun.
Exactly, exactly. So, Dacia, let's start out with you've got a company, you're a writer, you give speeches. If you would do an introduction of all the plethora of things you're doing. I think you've muted yourself.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Weird. I think I grabbed my microphone on accident. So I'm the CEO of the Marketing Blender. And of course, we're a marketing company, but really we grow companies. Like we aggressively accelerate revenue for high potential companies. So we solve really tricky revenue problems. Primarily, we do that through marketing, but there's a lot of things that get in the way of marketing, and we define it much broader than most people. So, I mean, it is everything from client retention to net new to pipeline to sales optimization, building that reputation, and we're ruthlessly focused on return on investment. So how do you create systems of scale that scale revenue, that scale reputation, and that even scale resilience? And so we're super passionate about it. We work primarily with business to business companies, all privately held, so we can have really fun, exciting impact and be very agile in what we do. And then to serve the broader market, I'm the host of the Marketing Blender Show, and I do this also with a number of my chief marketing officers as well as our marketing specialists. So we are in the weeds and in the clouds every day sharing what we're learning. I mean, we're so obsessed with staying on the bleeding edge of everything. Internally, we do AI Fight Club and all sorts of cool things. And that ends up making it into the content so that we can really help people understand how fast things are moving, what's happening, how to understand their data, and how to win in a very, very fast changing world. And then, as you mentioned, I mean, I speak all over the country, sometimes all over the world on accelerating revenue growth. And on top of that, how to unleash potential, both individual potential, organizational potential, and really enhance the significance and meaning that work should have in our life. Yeah, I love it. It's so fun.
Great. Well, there were a couple of things in the two group presentations you gave to my two Vistage groups that really stood out. One of them was how to connect with your audience and creating personas. And you might have a product, and based on what the need is, there are various personas that you have to adapt to really connect. But let me turn it over to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that concept and how it all works?
100%. I mean, the number one mistake we see that derails growth return on investment and marketing specifically, but even across the entire organization, is not having clear documentation over who your buyer personas are or your ideal customer profile. Now, a lot of people have done this work and then they put it away. And what I'm talking about is a full-blown paradigm to like change where we really make every single decision based on the market. What we know from our experience, 13 years in business, plus what the research shows, is there's really only 3 to 4 psychographic profiles or personalities, if you will, that make up 90% of your revenue. And people are so surprised oftentimes to hear that, this buyer persona, Jennifer, this customer, Jennifer, is super similar to Bob, who seems on paper very different, but there's something core that is naturally magnetic about your company and your brand to people like Jennifer and Bob. And it's usually very thin groups of people. And when you really realize that you can sell to whoever you want, but you cannot market to everyone, then all of a sudden it really changes the quality of the ideas, the quality of the deployment, the accuracy of the targeting, the resonance of the messaging. And the other cool thing is once you make humans decision-making criteria, it arms your team with the why. Why are we doing this? Why is this a good idea? Why will it work? What are we tracking? And really, it's a culture component that creates unity on how do we best serve and reach this target market as humans versus, oh, well, we target professional services or we work with healthcare. That is not a human. That is a ginormous group of organizations. And so it's really about narrowing down and allowing marketing and what sells for you when you're not in the room to truly feel like human to human conversations and connection, because that's what works. It's way more effective. And then it's easier to track as well.
Yeah, I've done a little work around personas in the past, but one of the key things you said to me was, um, look, you need to take this persona and socialize it within the organization because everybody's going to have a unique take. And then ultimately, uh, several departments that are outside of marketing, if you've got that honed in persona, the light bulb goes off for the other departments and they get more buy-in on the whole process as well.
100%. I mean, when you're doing this, if you have representatives of from all areas of your company that really understand your customer base. So I don't care what their title is, customer service representative, field manager, I mean, anything, but a 360-degree point of view around the humans and their behaviors and their preferences. It is shocking how much unanimous clarity you get around the tribal knowledge that's really in your organization. And then you're right, there's full buy-in because everybody can see it. They recognize those people. And then we do want to see it turned into onboarding documents and AI inputs that everybody uses and brainstorming and, components that are in standard operating procedures and just really systematized areas of your business where this helps clarify this is why we do what we do.
Yeah, and you just mentioned the other thing that I recall from the two presentations, and that is how AI is woven into your process. So let's take a moment and explore that a little bit and share.
Oh, okay. So I think one of the big things, so I had mentioned earlier, we are so AI forward, if you will. I mean, my team just in the last 18 months has literally tested and used hundreds of tools. I mean, each of us has numerous ones open every single day. So super well versed in it. And we're seeing a couple of different things. We're seeing, first of all, that AI is just being deployed for the purpose of deploying AI. This lunacy. And there's some very bad statistics around that. I mean, last year, 2025, MIT had published a study saying 90% of all AI investments were netting zero return on investment. Fast forward into 2026, we are still seeing horrifying numbers, anywhere between 60 and 85% of all AI deployments across entire organization, not just marketing, getting zero return on investment. And that includes efficiency. Like they are not seeing a reduction in cost, an improvement in efficiency means zero. So we like to think about, okay, what's the impact that AI needs to have for any given deployment, right? So in marketing, as an example, it's going to dramatically impact search and visibility. It's going to impact resonance because you have Super Bowl quality tools that we can use. Of course, it can impact efficiency if you're using it well, but we've got to really think about that technology stack. It can improve customer service, analysis. Those aren't perfect yet, but we're getting there. And then, of course, it can impact innovation. And again, innovation goes right back to buyer personas. Why are we deploying it? What value does it create? Does that buyer persona agree that that is value that they want and that they are willing to receive and understand? And then is it going to be value creating for your organization, whether as a differentiator or to make people more loyal? But even those conversations, does this land us more clients? Does this keep us more clients? Like there's very little clarity that I'm seeing when we deploy. So I want people thinking impact versus AI, AIO, like just running amok. But then the other component and what our team is really moving into is two things: knowledge sharing and more of what we refer to as process consulting, because we are no longer in the age of clear, straightforward answers. Like, this is how you do SEO. SEO is now turning into GEO, generative engine optimization. And what we were deploying a year ago to win in this transition is extremely different than what we've learned and what we're deploying now. And I'm pretty sure it'll be different 1 month from now and 3 months from now. I mean, literally, I just got out of a meeting with our team and they're redeploying new strategies that they've uncovered in the last month. So I say process consulting because the thinking has to be for who, why, how, and then how do we socialize that knowledge? So we're doing a lot more connecting people amongst our client base, across our team, to share experiences. We're doing a lot more simplifying around why are we doing it, what are we doing it, adding clarity, and really reverse engineering return on investment is what it boils down to, because we're going to use totally different tools next year. And so we can't be stuck, not from a corporate standpoint or, a strategic partner standpoint. We can't be stuck on a tool. And also, governance is just really, really difficult. I mean, AI, generally speaking, is deployed one person at a time, one brain, one learning module, one instance at a time. We've never had this in the history of business, right? I mean, it's always been governance. What's our tech stack? Where do we go with this? And that is not the future. And so you've got to start getting on top of more agile cultures, agile communication strategies, and process-oriented guardrails. What can AI not do? What should it do? How does AI take us up the human value ladder, where the humans are creating and producing and innovating at a higher level? But you have to do that intentionally. And there's a reason why we use, common terms now like AI slop. I mean, that's common lingo in just a year and a half now, and everybody understands what that is. But it's a very, very different way of working. So I don't know if I just went down the rabbit hole.
No, that was great. That was great. Let me change gears. You do a lot of consulting and you work with a lot of organizations. What are the most common mistakes that you find as you're starting to look under the hood of a marketing organization?
Oh, absolutely. So the buyer personas not being specific enough and not being socialized. So those need to be decision-making criteria. Then we see a lack of scorecard. A huge pet peeve of mine and of all people, but they don't know what to call it, all business leaders, is the fact that marketing and the language of business, which is finance, don't seem to speak the same language. And so we need to translate. And the translation is pretty simple, actually. So obviously, finance talks in dollars, but marketing talks in number of humans. How many humans do we need to influence in order to drive revenue, in order to create value and a win-win? And so translating deal sizes and number of deals in a pipeline and the assumptions in a revenue number. So whether it's $10 million revenue number or $100 million in a revenue number, how many deals, how many humans does that represent? And then building scorecards that really align that translation and create unity, where all of a sudden we are thinking, how is this influencing? How are all of our deployments influencing the market? What do these numbers mean? We now believe and agree on that. And then how do we impact those? So I really see marketing not have the level of sophistication in regards to reporting and systemization as the rest of the organization. And the irony is crazy because marketing is so tech forward and it's so data forward, but I feel like the pace of change in marketing is so fast that we have eroded fundamentals around internal communication, internal cultural agreements, and a unity of growth. And I like to refer to it as a culture of growth, where everybody's trying to solve and amplify the growth opportunity versus finger pointing, like who's at fault for it not working. And it's really not healthy. You can't efficient your way into growth, and you can't argue your way into growth either. So really those are two of the big ones, because numbers will clarify solving the right problem, and buyer personas will clarify why are things working, why are they not working, what are the core assumptions that maybe we need to fundamentally. So those are two of my favorite bookmarks. Everything else kind of falls in some balance in between there.
So I wish we had a whole bunch more time. We don't. How do people get a hold of you?
Thank you so much. So anybody can find me at themarketingblender.com. The second thing is my name. There's no other Dacia coffees on the planet, so I'm easy to Google, find on social media. I'm also the host of the Marketing Blender Show, and I'm the author of a book series. The second one's coming out soon, called Corporate Caffeine. So the first one's already out on marketing strategy and some of the things that we've talked about. And the second one is about understanding and clarifying marketing return on investment. And that'll be coming out this summer, and it will also be titled Corporate Caffeine.
Well, can't wait for that to come out. You were a generous person today for this call, and you were very generous in my two groups. And by the way, you followed up with some great material for my members to leave behind. So I can't thank you enough for that. And I just appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thank you so much. And can I steal an answer from you? I would love to ask you a question.
Bring it.
Okay, so you have this amazing background in the hospitality industry and led some very amazing initiatives. And that is a tough, competitive market with very high standards. What are some of the core principles that you know about being great to your market that you feel like people need to be reminded about nowadays?
You know, I lived in various places around the world in hospitality. It took me all over the United States. I lived in Brussels, Belgium for about 4.5 years. I had territories of Canada, Caribbean, South America. I had all of Europe and the Middle East. And I would say, and this is more of a general business reference than it is the hospitality business, you need to be able to fit in with the culture that you're working with. And you have to, we'll take a 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You need to seek to understand before you're understood. And no matter what market I went into, I spent more time listening than I did talking.
Yes.
So that's my nugget. It applies in everything.
It applies in everything. The market defines value, not the deliverer of the value. Yeah, that defines everything. Thank you for letting me, pick your brain on that. And thank you for what you do for your groups. You are a remarkable Vistage chair, and you just bring so much value and vibrancy to those organizations. So it was such an honor getting to know you, and now get to call you friend.
Yes, you can. All right. Thank you again, and we'll be in touch soon.
Sounds fantastic. Onward and upward.